All right, welcome. Today we're going to talk about a critical checkpoint on our developer roadmap, GitHub. Understanding this tool isn't just a nice-to-have skill, it's really the bedrock of how modern software gets built, and it's an absolutely non-negotiable stop on your journey.
So to really get a handle on just how big and important GitHub is, you got to start with the huge question. Think about all the apps on your phone, all the websites you visit, all the software you use every single day. Where is all of that stuff actually being built?
Well, for over 150 million developers across the entire globe, the answer is GitHub. And look, this isn't just one of the options out there. It is by a massive margin the largest and most active place for source code in the whole world.
Okay, so what is this thing? What exactly is this platform where all this code lives and breathes? Let's get right to the core of what GitHub is all about.
At its heart, GitHub is basically a website. It's a cloud-based service built specifically for developers. Think of it as one central spot where you can store your code in a project folder, which we call a repository, keep track of all the changes you make, and, most importantly, work together with other people.
Probably the best way to think about it is like Google Docs, but for code. Just like with a doc, you can see a complete history of every edit, you can leave comments, and you could have multiple people working on the same thing at the same time. GitHub gives you that same kind of power, but for incredibly complex software projects.
To really get what GitHub is doing, we've got to pop the hood and look at the engine that makes it all run. That engine is a technology called Git. And this is a super important checkpoint on your journey. Git and GitHub are not the same thing.
So what is Git? Well, it's what we call a version control system. Imagine it's like a save button for your entire project, but on steroids. Every time you commit, which is just the Git way of saying save, it takes a perfect snapshot of your files at that exact moment. This all happens right there, locally, on your own computer, creating this amazing history that lets you rewind to any previous version if something breaks.
And this right here really makes that distinction crystal clear. Git, that's the tool running on your machine managing your project's history. GitHub, that's the platform up in the cloud where you host that project, syncing your local work to a remote repository so that you and your team can get to it from anywhere.
All right, so now that we know about the Git engine, let's see how GitHub uses it to create a safe, organized way for teams to work together. This is really where the collaborative magic happens.
The standard way to do this is called the GitHub flow. First, you create something called a branch. Think of it as a safe copy of the project where you can mess around. You make your changes there and commit them, all without touching the main code. Then, when you're ready, you open up a pull request to propose your changes. And finally, after a review, you merge your branch back into the main project.
And that pull request, man, that is the absolute heart of collaboration on GitHub. It's so much more than just asking to add your code. It's where the conversation happens, where your code gets reviewed by your teammates, and where automated checks make sure everything still works. It's how you ensure quality before anything becomes part of the final product.
Over the years, GitHub has become so much more than just a place to store code. It's grown into this massive ecosystem that supports pretty much every single part of building software. Let's see how this all fits together.
Just look at its history. It's been a wild ride. It was founded back in 2008 and it just exploded, especially in the open source world. Then in 2018, Microsoft bought it, which really cemented its place in the corporate world. And its growth has just kept accelerating, blowing past 100 million developers in 2023.
And the result of all that growth, it's just staggering. We're talking over 420 million repositories on GitHub today. But here's the really cool part for us, as people learning to code. More than 28 million of those are public. That is an unbelievable library of real-world code you can just go and read, learn from, and even help improve.
And the platform itself is just packed with other tools. You've got GitHub Actions to automate stuff, GitHub Pages to host simple websites, Gist for sharing quick code snippets, and even GitHub Copilot, which is an AI that helps you write code. It's really the whole package.
Okay, so we've got the what, the how, and the why of the platform itself. Now, let's bring it all back and place GitHub firmly on our developer roadmap. Let's talk about why this is, seriously, a non-negotiable skill you need to have for your career.
Look, getting good at GitHub is so much bigger than just learning a tool. Your GitHub profile, that's your new resume. It's a living, breathing portfolio that shows employers exactly what you can do.
It's your gateway to contributing to amazing open-source projects. And let's be real, it's just a fundamental skill that's expected for pretty much any developer job out there today.
So what happens once you get comfortable with this? Once your code is safe, versioned, and ready to share? Well, the platform kind of just fades into the background. It becomes this solid, reliable foundation you can count on. And that leaves you with the single most important and exciting question of all. What are you going to build next?
This is Developer Roadmaps. Map your path. Build your career.